Stray cat that was acting funny tests positive for a staggering condition. Lots of cats sadly find themselves in the situation Bruce was in, on the streets of America. Records from 2018 indicated that nearly 60 million felines didn't have a home, according to the wildlife removal website. That's a staggering figure, right? And it's especially heartbreaking if you're an animal lover. And in Bruce's case, he'd been a stray for a large portion of his life. The tabby was roughly 6 years old when Minnesota's Animal Humane Society welcomed him through their doors. But the poor puss wasn't in the best of shape at that time due to his lengthy spell in the wild. Bruce had a scarred eye and damaged teeth upon his arrival, reported the website Love Meow. Plus one of his ears wasn't looking too great either. The description alone is choking us up. And although the cat received the treatment he needed at the shelter, there was another issue bubbling away in the background. Yes, Bruce was suffering from a serious medical condition alongside his other ailments. But guess what? Regardless of how the cat would have been feeling during that period, he was incredibly affectionate towards those working at the facility. Not all strays are like that when they're brought in. Love Meow reported that Bruce adored hugs because they drew out a satisfied, loving purr. Oh. How cute is that? And the folks at the American Humane Society gave the tabby his eye-catching name ahead of an important spell. The time had come, you see, to find him a family. Around 2.1 million shelter felines find new homes every 12 months, according to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals website. That's a lot of cats. So it's fair to say that Bruce had plenty of competition to find a new family. Yet Bruce had an ace up his furry sleeve, his loving nature. The tabby purred like mad when people would get close to his enclosure at the facility, reported Love Meow. It seemed that he was more than ready to start a new chapter in his life away from the streets. The workers at the American Humane Society tried to do their part as well, taking to social media to big up the cat. A post on the facility's Facebook page read, "Bruce is the sweetest and most affectionate boy around. All cheeks and love, he will brighten every day you spend with him." Bruce's appearance unfortunately proved to be a stumbling block, though. Because regardless of how friendly he was around visitors at the shelter, none of them took a chance on him. Yet he did catch someone's eye thanks to the shelter's social media posts. That person in question was Sandra Daniloff. And fittingly, Daniloff first spotted Bruce's photograph on International Cat Day. It's August 8, if you want to mark it down in your calendar. Anyway, she looked back on her initial reaction while speaking to Love Meow in September 2019. She said, "When I saw his picture, it just spoke to my heart." So what happened next? Well, Daniloff made her way to the shelter to see Bruce in the flesh. But that trip proved to be a lot harder on her than you might think. She revealed more when she spoke to Good Morning America in June 2021. "We hope you've got some tissues ready." Daniloff recalled, "Looking at Bruce is just like, you can tell he had been through a lot. And it looked a little bit like he had given up on life in a way. I was like, why am I putting myself through this?" Because he looked even sadder in real life, especially at the time. "I could only stay there for a couple of minutes because I got so sad," Daniloff continued. "I almost started crying. I'm like, no, what's the point of this since I can't get him anyways?" Yet, even though Bruce had caught her attention, the landlord for her home had a strict rule in place that stated no animals were allowed. Yet Daniloff continued to get online updates on Bruce's status after that. She was desperate for someone to take him, given that she couldn't adopt the adorable tabby herself. Plus, the Minnesota residents struggled to stay away from the shelter as well. Something tells us her new friend stole her heart. Daniloff told Good Morning America, "I went back to the shelter after the first time. For some reason, I couldn't let Bruce go. And yet the tabby cat's health was starting to deteriorate. Bruce developed an upper respiratory infection during that spell, according to Love Meow." Those were tough times for all concerned, yet Daniloff came up with a plan. As Bruce continued to get ill, she decided to step up in a major way. So what did she do? Well, the feline's new pal outlined her aims while chatting with Good Morning America. Daniloff revealed, "I told myself that, if he hasn't got adopted by a set date, I'm going to ask my landlord if I can get him. I sent him a text, actually, with a picture of Bruce." The aforementioned message explained his health situation as well, which eventually led to a response. Yes, despite the landlord's no pets rule, they opted to overlook it on this occasion, allowing Daniloff to adopt Bruce. What a lovely gesture. But for as happy as that answer no doubt made her, she was well aware that taking him in would come with its challenges. Part of me was like, what am I getting myself into? Daniloff told Good Morning America. I knew Bruce would need a lot of medical care. But then, when I went to visit him the next day, and I looked into his eyes, I was just so happy that I could get him out of the shelter. So what was actually wrong with Bruce? Aside from the respiratory infection he picked up at the facility, of course. Well, the lovable puss was carrying something called the feline immunodeficiency virus when he arrived at the Animal Humane Society. And it isn't something you'd wish on any cat. The condition, which is also known as cat FIV, attacks the animal's immune system, leaving them at risk of picking up other illnesses. They also find it tougher to shift those conditions compared to healthier felines. In Bruce's case, he was dealing with eye and ear infections when Daniloff adopted him, as well as a cold. Poor fella. Now, we know what you're thinking. What does that mean for Bruce? How was his health after Daniloff brought him home back in 2019? Well, she first offered some insight to Good Morning America about the feline's initial reaction to his new surroundings. It's fair to say that he was impressed. Bruce certainly looks like a completely different cat today. In the years he's since been with Daniloff, the adorable puss has undergone a truly wonderful transformation, appearing a lot healthier than before. Sure, he still has FIV, but his owner had this to say about it to the Bored Panda website in 2020. Yes, Daniloff created the social media page for her pet cat after she adopted him in 2019. Since then, she's shared hundreds of images of Bruce around her home, capturing their journey together as pals. And it's safe to say those posts have stolen the hearts of Instagram users everywhere, too. But that's got us wondering, what was Bruce like during the early days in Daniloff's apartment? We know that he made himself at home fairly quickly, but how did he react to a new domesticated environment over time? Well, his owner recalled a heartwarming moment while talking to Love Meow. Bruce came into the bathroom when I was showering one day, Daniloff informed the website. And he looked at me and started meowing, as if he was trying to call for help to rescue me from the water. Plus, he's shown off his protective nature in other ways too. During her chat with Good Morning America, Daniloff said, "Wherever I am, Bruce will always be close to me. I can't walk into the bedroom or the kitchen, or anywhere really, without him wanting to follow me." Thus, Bruce sounds like a great companion to have around the house, wouldn't you agree? Yet it wasn't all plain sailing. Bruce showed a bit of wariness around certain objects in Daniloff's apartment at the start. That shouldn't be too surprising, though. Because we can't forget that this little fella had lived a large chunk of his life on the streets. Alongside a distrust of prone hairdryers, Daniloff told Good Morning America, "Bruce was a little bit scared of my toothbrush at first. But now, that's something he's gotten used to. He's just such a character." After everything that we've heard and seen, we'd say that's a pretty accurate assessment. You'd never guess that he still had a medical issue today. But we're not finished just yet. Daniloff made an impassioned point at the end of her interview with Good Morning America. It harkened back to the time when Bruce was at the Animal Humane Society and couldn't find anyone to adopt him. In her opinion, people should be more open to taking the perceived risks that come with cats like him. Daniloff added, "It's so worth getting a cat that's been at the shelter for a long time, one that's older, or maybe has special needs. Yes, they will probably demand more from you. It might be a little more costly than other pets. But in the end, it's always worth it because they give you so much in return." Bruce certainly seems to have done that for Daniloff. And while there's no way of knowing how his health is going to hold up in the years to come, one more thing is for sure. Thanks to his growing popularity on social media, this cool cat is gonna continue stealing people's hearts.